At a motel, a couple with a baby is being chased. They're found by a security team headed by a woman called Marissa Wiegler. The couple, Eric and Johanna, have to make a fast getaway. Once again, men with guns are tailing at their heels. Also, a chopper trails their car. Soon, machine gun fire rains down onto the road, forcing Eric to drive into the woods. They reach a field, and they're shot at again in the middle. As a result, the car crashes into a tree, killing the mother, Johanna, in the accident. Luckily, the father and daughter are alive, and they sneak into the forest. Eventually, the car erupts into flames when Marissa gets to the scene. Yet, off running through the forest with his daughter, Eric refuses to let them take him and the daughter again. 15 years later, the child has grown into a young woman, Hannah. She's a hunter. Also, judging by how well she fights with her dad, she is a damn good fighter and shooter too. Eric has been training her daughter for all this time. So they live off the grid, far from society in the woods. They hone their skills every moment of the day. Her father quizzed Hannah on everything from new languages to geographical information to songs and great American movies. But she is all alone in that cold forest and has always a longing to go into the world beyond the red markings on the trees that her father has marked as the last boundary for her. These marks represent where she cannot go beyond. Eventually, one day, Hannah's teenage desire to see the world overcomes her dad's restrictions, and she sneaks past the red markings and into the forest on the other side. In doing this, she also takes care to cover her tracks. She heads into the vast unknown by herself. After some time, she stumbles onto a man sawing wood in the barren area. Seeing a lonely girl, he offers her something she's never had, a chocolate bar. His name is Arvo. Though her dad is stressed while waiting at their camp, Arvo takes Hannah for a ride on his ATV to show her an arm of the digital world. They visit a satellite, and he takes her inside. There, they enjoy the lights of the beautiful stars in the sky. After some time, Arvo and Hannah get interrupted when men with dogs show up at the satellite area. Seeing other people around her, she makes a run for it without even thinking, heading straight for home. Back at the home, this has Eric worried sick. He's concerned if someone saw her face. Eric knows she wants to live in the outside world. He also knows that he can't keep her there, or safe, forever. That's why he finally decides to show his daughter a picture of Marissa and tells her about their past. Meanwhile, Marissa's been given information about the satellite break-in by some strange teenagers. The previous mess she was involved in that we saw at the start of the video was covered up, and everything was blamed on Eric. After that, she continued to keep tabs on the father, Eric. Now, with a report of a father-daughter pair living not far from where Johanna died, Marissa's now looking to bury the past again. One night, Hannah sees machines in the sky. Seeing this, she and Eric have to run because Marissa's accomplices are hunting them. They grab only what they can carry before heading into the dark woods. Some armed soldiers check out of the camp while others start searching elsewhere. Meanwhile, Eric and Hannah are forced to split up so that they have more chances to escape the chase. Hannah lures a group of soldiers in to save her dad from sniper fire. Then she's taken by Marissa's people, whisked away as a terror suspect to be locked in a secret facility according to the instructions of Marissa. She does not exist anymore for the outer world. It's ironic how she sees out into the world from a chopper for the first time, as she's simultaneously being taken away to be shut off from the world even further than she was in those woods. Hannah is transported to a Moroccan rendition facility. After reaching there, she proceeds to kick the living shit out of the soldiers, killing her way through the halls of the facility to escape the imprisonment. She gets a soldier's uniform and the results of her DNA test and then makes it to a door leading out of a rock face. Meanwhile, a young girl named Sophie is on vacation and gets pissed off by her family's quarreling over nonsense and walks into the desert. She quickly realizes she's lost after calming down. At the same moment, Hannah flees across the rocky terrain. After some time, the two young ladies run into each other, so they decide to accompany each other in order to find their way out of the desert. Eventually, after some time, Sophie finds her parents on the road. They take Hannah too, along with them in the van. Hannah tells everyone a rehearsed story about her father, who was an accountant in Amsterdam. When Hannah mentions her dead mother, Sophie silently grabs hold of her hand, showing a sense of affection for her. After reaching home, the girls get silly and enjoy themselves. They have become good friends within no time. On the other hand, Eric is also alive and back in his handsome getup. He is searching for his daughter and heading towards the designated location as soon as possible. He's received a postcard from his daughter, so he knows she's gradually making her way to him too. Both father and daughter have already decided to meet somewhere in Berlin. Back to the girls, Hannah sees a hitman, Jacobs, from afar outside the terminal when she is leaving for Berlin. She knows just by his gaze that he's after her. The problem is that Jacobs has quite a wide reach. He's got his eyes on Sophie's family van too. It's Marissa who sent that hitman before Hannah. She knows that the girl is special, and she wants her at any cost. Meanwhile, Jacobs watches Hannah closely. When Hannah leaves Sophie and her family at the train station, she realizes there are people following her. She's forced to use her fighting skills to get away from the men. Sophie and everybody in the station witnesses everything, including when Hannah's about to shoot a man, but she stops when Sophie calls out to her. Then, Hannah runs from the place, hopping onto a passing train. She's watched by Sophie, who's amazed at what she's seen. Then Hannah's headed into Berlin. It's a lonely city by herself. She gets by with food, steals it from stores, or gets it from the trash and makes friends with a hungry dog. She also ends up fighting a dude while waiting for her father. Meanwhile, her father arrives at the scene and deals with that dude. Eric and his daughter are finally reunited now. She tells him about the Moroccan rendition facility and also about Sophie's family. For the time being, the father-daughter duo is safe. They're taken to a hideout where Eric's old army friends await their arrival. Eric introduces his whole team to his daughter, Hannah. In the night, they all leave for a secret mission. They hit an arms depot for weaponry. Hannah's left in the van listening to music as she is the youngest of all of them. She spends her time dancing like she used to in the club with Sophie. In the middle of her one-woman dance party, she sees the flashing lights of a police vehicle. Two cops get out to check the van, and they notice the hole in the facility's fence. This prompts Hannah to start driving. She blows through the fence as the cops shoot. She picks up her father and his friends, then speeds away from that facility while the cops are shooting at them continuously. Back at the hideout, Hannah starts asking her father what he did for Marissa and why she is behind them. She wants to know the truth. Eric explains that after his military service, he was left poor and with psychological issues. Then, Marissa and Utrax took him in. We see more of Eric's past, such as when he and Johanna first met. Eric's job was to hire women freelance to give birth to babies for Utrax and then leave them forever. Joanna was one of those mothers. Eventually, Eric left Marissa and Utrax. However, Joanna later wanted to get her baby back from Utrax, so Eric stole the baby from the facility. Unfortunately, Marissa was able to track them down and kill Joanna. There's something else behind the relationship too, so much more than Eric is willing to reveal to his daughter. Later, Eric and his team make a plan to capture Marissa, but she is already informed of their plan. When Eric's team reaches the city, Hannah cautions them that they are being closely watched all around. Hannah stays back in the car while her father goes to meet a friend, Lucas, who is possibly ditching Eric at that time. Eric starts to push about Lucas, seeming nervous and noticing something's not quite right. While exiting the building, Marissa shoots at who she thinks is Eric, but it turns out to be Lucas. Eric is making a run at that time in his friend's clothes. Inside the hotel, Eric tosses smoke grenades and sends out people screaming from the building while he heads upstairs, and his daughter's not far behind him. She is chasing him and has reached outside the building. The whole scene surrounding the hotel becomes total chaos. Meanwhile, Jacobs gets there, ready to shoot Hannah, but Eric's friend Dieter knocks him down and takes the girl in the car. In an alley by the hotel, Marissa finds two police officers pointing their guns at Eric, who is on his knees at the time. She quickly goes towards them to take Eric under her control. But it turns out that the police officers are actually Eric's friends, Rudy and Elsa. They've planned this to catch Marissa in a trap. Meanwhile, Jacobs isn't having any luck either. He's pissed about their off-the-radar mission getting blasted across Berlin media. He gets a call from Marissa claiming she's got Eric. So, he goes to a cafe to meet Marissa, and she tells him to go back to his car where he sees his driver dead. Marissa is actually being kept by Eric and is now acting on his commands. Soon, Jacobs realizes he's at the end of Eric's gun before he has a chance to breathe. Meanwhile, Marissa is being kept in an old water tower where Eric sits across her. He reels off what he now knows about Marissa's life. She has a boyfriend and a son who are now Eric's target. He gets down to business fast and tells her that he wants a quiet life. He wants Marissa to arrange an escape route for him and remove all the allegations from his head. Afterward, Eric brings Jacobs into the room and shoots him in the head just to prove that he is serious this time. Meanwhile, Hannah is at the house of Eric's friend Dieter. She's beginning to see more of what she's missed out on in a regular life with a regular family. She watches Dieter wrestle with his boys. She also helps his wife to make food. In the night, when Dieter goes out of the house, Hannah follows him. She wants to know about her father and his secret mission. So she turns on the alarm of a nearby car, and when Dieter is distracted to see that car, Hannah quickly hides in Dieter's car. In this way, Hannah sneaks into the old tower. There, she overhears her father and his friends hearing them speak of Eric deceiving his daughter about the truth. Though she could not hear the whole conversation, Eric sensed that someone was listening to them. When he comes to check on Hannah, she escapes from the tower quickly. Back at the house, she has a sweet moment over a late-night ice cream with one of Dieter's little boys. She catches him red-handed while eating ice cream, but promises him to keep it a secret. She even wipes his mouth and then sends him to sleep. The next morning, she's snooping to locate the package Dieter was given to send to British newspapers papers in case something goes wrong on Eric's end. When she finds that package, there's info about her mother and U-Tracks, along with Eric's signature. The info on her father is left unknown. Hannah's entire world, as she knew it, has shifted, because now she knows that Eric is not her real father, and she doesn't even know her biological father yet. Meanwhile, in the tower, Marissa and Eric discuss the old memories. In the past, we see Johanna come back to Eric after she had handed over Hannah to U-Tracks. She had a change of mind now, and she wanted her baby back. Eric tries to convince her that it's impossible to go against these people and that she can't get her baby back, but Johanna was consistent in her demand. She'd even named the baby Hannah. This is when Eric's guilt began to eat away at him. Back in the present, we see Hannah missing any genuine human connection after knowing that Eric is not her father. She has Sophie's contact number, which she dials, but she doesn't utter a word from her mouth and hangs up. The time has come for Hannah to leave. She farewells the family of Dieter, who then takes her to her father. Dieter takes the two of them to catch their flight. At the water tower, Rudy puts the silencer on his gun and readies himself to kill Marissa when he's gunned down instead. Eric and Hannah go to board the plane, but she refuses until he tells her the truth. She doesn't believe he's her actual father. She's feeling the ultimate betrayal at the worst possible moment. The worst is, this lie leads Hannah to believe he might have actually killed her mother. She takes off into the night after breaking all the ties with Eric. Back at the airport, Eric has armed soldiers firing on him before long. He's chased into the trees, vehicles coming from every direction for him. An agent from U-Tracks named Sawyer fires a couple of bullets at Eric, injuring him. Then Eric's friends Elsa and Dieter get him and manage to get out. Later on, after some days, as Eric is training to get better after his injuries, he watches a gunshot that kills his friend Elsa. He's being hunted again by Marissa's accomplices. He tries to make a run for it when a group of CIA agents corners him, and he realizes that he can't flee from that place. So, he surrenders himself into the hands of Agent Sawyer. Meanwhile, Hannah is back at her house with Sophie. Hannah goes with Sophie and a couple of her guy friends on a ride in the van. They go to the forest, where Hannah wants to be. She is just being out there to set her soul at ease. Also, she is enjoying being in the forest after a very long time. She grips the ground, letting an ant crawl over her skin. She touches the vegetation and feels the light breeze on her face. She feels at home here rather than trapped in the confines of an urban landscape. When Hannah gets back home, she finds Sophie's parents there with Marissa, who is pretending to be Hannah's mother. Seeing this scene, Hannah runs off to get away from Marissa, but ends up meeting with her again on the road. There, Marissa threatens Hannah to hurt Sophie's family if she doesn't listen to her. Marissa offers Hannah to come with her to the U-Tracks, where her origins match. She also promises the safety of Hannah and Sophie's family if she complies with her. As she has no other option, Hannah agrees, and they both go to see off the Sophie family. Simultaneously, Sophie found out interesting things about Hannah's origins, like the blacked-out area of the Romanian forest listed on her credentials as a birthplace. She knows Marissa isn't her mother, and now she realizes there's something dangerous going on with her friend. Yet she can't stop Marissa from taking Hannah, who's reluctantly going in an effort to keep Sophie out of harm's way. At a hotel, Marissa makes sure Hannah is comfortable. She watches her sleep and even attempts to take off Hannah's shoes after she's fallen asleep and clothed on the bed. It looks like Marissa has developed feelings for Hannah. On the other hand, when Eric is about to be executed because the agency has found Hannah now. However, Eric takes action to save his life, getting one of the CIA agents' guns and shooting his way out of that cold torture room. He takes one of their suits, gets into the CIA computer system, and looks through the secret files on the U-Tracks server. What he finds is a seemingly endless list of women under the U-Tracks training program. He is now sure that U-Tracks still exists, contrary to what he thought that it was closed after he left them. After that, Eric goes to see Dieter, who provides him with transportation, a new passport, and some cash. On the other hand, Sawyer and his men came by helicopter to the hotel to get Hannah with them. When Hannah and Marissa step into the elevator and head down a floor, they watch as Eric steps into the lift with them. The smug smile on his daughter's face is beautiful. He gets out on another floor with Hannah, and they start to run, leaving Marissa behind. While Eric starts a fiery distraction, Hannah sits in on a seminar, hiding herself as the whole building is surrounded by Sawyer's men. Soon, the fire alarm starts sounding, which sends people out of there in a confused crowd. Father and daughter blend in with everyone else until they reach the lobby, and Hannah starts fighting the enemies with her dad. They make it outside and take command of the CIA's helicopter, lifting off before Marissa and Sawyer can reach them. Marissa and Hannah have guns pointed at one another, though they refuse to pull the trigger, even having a clear shot, and the father-daughter duo flies away. Elsewhere at the U-Tracks facility, other young women are trained by a doctor to be elite, unstoppable fighting machines. They are being continuously monitored and trained in a far-off facility, hidden from the whole world. In a Utrax facility, trainees are woken up by a voice over the PA, letting them know their schedule for the day, from medication to training. We see girl 249, who seems somewhat different from others. Meanwhile, Eric is planning to go to this facility to free all the young girls, but he doesn't include Hannah in his plan. In a rice field, Eric begins to be honest with her for the first time in her life. He explains how Utrax was experimenting to see how certain mutations would affect newborn children. He admits to recruiting Johanna while she was pregnant. He also makes sure Hannah knows that her mother used to love her a lot. Eric then says that they can't stay together forever because Utrax will always come looking. That's when he speaks of her real father. Eric has never met him, though he knows his identity and that he currently lives in Romania. En route to Romania, Eric and Hannah stop at his mother's home. Hannah sleeps in the old room where Eric used to sleep as a boy. That night, Eric's mother proves she can't be trusted when she calls Marissa to inform her about her son. The following day, Eric and Hannah leave with no idea there's probably a storm headed directly for them. Marissa turns up to see Eric's mother, Sarah, after they're gone. Out of nowhere, men with guns arrive, and Sawyer won't tell her exactly what's happening. The CIA and Utrax realize Eric knows about the other facility, and he is now heading toward it. Also, now Marissa is getting suspicious of the CIA as they are hiding the truth about Utrax from Marissa too. Then, Sawyer also orders the execution of Marissa. In a field, Marissa's taken to wait for a supposed plane, yet it's clear she's being led to her execution. Luckily, she took a knife from Sarah's place. She has to murder 2 CIA agents who are about to put a bullet in her brain. In the meantime, Sawyer reaches the Utrax facility and imposes a lockdown there, sending all the girls back to their rooms. He is frightened of Eric possibly coming to that place. Meanwhile, Eric and Hannah head to see her real dad, Emil Prodna. Eric says that Hannah doesn't have to see him again if she doesn't want to, or she can stay forever. She's unsure of what will happen to him after she's gone, no matter if it saves her from a life of running from the CIA and Utrax. They sit with Emil's family for dinner. Bit awkward. Later, Hannah confronts Eric. She knows he's planning something, but he doesn't tell her anything. He's trying to buy back his soul. After he's gone, Hannah figures out herself that Eric is going on a mission, and he will need her help, so she tries to go towards Eric. Her real father tries to stop her, but she doesn't listen and even throws him, hitting the garbage box. Then she takes her real dad's car to go looking for Eric. At the Utrax facility, Girl 249 is watching Sawyer and the other agents. The doctor on duty there says that keeping all the subjects in a confined space could be dangerous, but Sawyer does not listen to him. Also, 249 is awakening from her previously machinic routines. When Eric gets back to the hotel, he gets a call from Marissa. She tells him she had no part in what Utrax has done. She warns him that if he goes to the facility, he'll die. Eric suggests it's merely a suicide mission to expose them. Marissa wants to give Hannah a new identity to help Eric keep her safe permanently, but Eric can't believe her. He's just figuring out she's in the same hotel as him, and it can be another trap. So he busts down the door. Seeing this, Marissa willingly lays down her gun to try to gain his trust. But suddenly, Sawyer and his agents came there. Eric assumes it's Marissa's doing, and shit really gets bad. Gunfire explodes in the night as Eric takes cover, grabbing his weapons and returning fire. It was the perfect time for Hannah to arrive, running over a few CIA agents with her car and taking one of their guns. Her fighting skills are exceptional. She flies through the hotel window to help her father, who taught her everything she knows. She gets Eric out of there, and they're off again and headed towards Utrax. The explosion of a car badly injures Sawyer, and now he is in the custody of Marissa. The following day, Eric and Hannah get inside the Utrax facility, searching the building for the captive girls. Eric and Hannah also begin a gunfight with the Utrax agents. Right before one of the agents shoots Hannah, she's saved by Eric, putting a bullet through the woman's neck. Then Hannah and Eric stumble across the doctor in the control room. They want him to open the cells of the girls, and he does the same. 249 leaves her cell, though not all are so eager to break the rules. She tries to convince her neighboring girl to leave the cell, but in vain. She finds Eric and Hannah after that. Hannah was able to discover 249's real name, Clara, through Utrax's database. She's also able to tell the girl her mother's name too. After experiencing all this, Clara is finally liberated. Then, Hannah attempts to speak to all the girls to liberate them, but they don't listen to her. It isn't so easy to break the chains of slavery in which they are born. Big problems arise when Sawyer flees from Marissa's hands and comes to the Utrax. He announces to all the trainees that any unauthorized personnel are to be met with deadly force, which puts Eric and Hannah in a very dangerous spot as one of the girls lashes out at them. Clara has to put the girl down before she kills Eric. Then, the rest of them leave to be evacuated from that place on Swayer's orders. After some time, Marissa lurks around the facility and the soldiers start setting fire to the place to destroy the whole facility. Eric, Clara, and Hannah make their way through a shooting range, where Clara gathers a bunch of explosives to greet the soldiers who surround them. One explosion takes them out fast, leaving only a handful of soldiers for the trio to kill. Hannah and Clara use their enhanced skills while Eric manages well, even though he is injured. Poor Clara's nearly killed when Hannah rescues her. At the same time, Eric's trying not to let his internal injuries from Berlin kill him. Sadly, he tells his daughter that she has to leave him behind. But Hannah is not willing to leave Eric in any case. She and Clara take him along. Outside the facility, they're stopped by Sawyer at gunpoint. Before he can kill Eric, he's gunned down by Marissa. Marissa tells them to go while she takes care of things there. All she does is call for assistance and claim she's been shot by Eric. She's able to change the narrative as Sawyer is dead now. In the woods, Hannah and Clara get Eric to the van. They head on the road, but it's evident Eric won't make it. He dies in Clara's lap. Hannah stops the vehicle to say goodbye. There, she calls him Dad and weeps. At least he was able to help free one of the other girls and show his daughter the truth before he died. Hannah brings him to be buried next to her mother at the cemetery. A whole big universe awaits Clara out there for the first time. This has been a difficult journey for Hannah, and Clara's journey is only really beginning. Still, they've got each other. It's them against the world. Hannah and Clara are tasting real freedom in the forest. Hannah uses the survival skills her father, Eric, taught her, remembering his loving guidance. Then, one day, a drone catches sight of the two girls, so they have to run. Clara hides on land, and Hannah hides below the water until the drone flies away, at least for the time being. The men from the Utrax facility are still searching for Clara and Hannah. In the woods, Hannah sees a scar on Clara's arm. Utrax has put a subdermal medicine there to keep them calm, leaving a scar on her arm. Hannah uses a knife and removes that pill from her arm as she no longer needs it. After that, they loot a few guns for protection from a truck. Then they're off again. They stop for a while and they talk as if they're two normal girls. Hannah and Clara continue through the forest, stopping where they can at cabins to find themselves supplies. Clara's not quite sure about this kind of life, living in the woods, though Hannah assures it's the only way they'll truly be able to survive. At the same time, a new character named Leo is teaching the Utrax girls about the world and how it's come to be this way. He's preparing them to face the dangers of the real world. He says that life at the Meadows is a hell of a lot gentler than it was at the isolated Utrax facility. Meadows is now the new Utrax facility, which is a little less cage-like as compared to the previous one. Girls like Sandy and Jules are no longer just girl or seer whatever. They have names, and they have backstories too. They can sit in a cafeteria together and talk about hot boys and hometowns and families with elaborate histories like shithead brothers and ill sisters. In the woods, Clara stumbles onto a woman and her daughter in a cabin. She gets invited inside, awkwardly chatting with them. Clara talks about looking for her mother, Samira. It only takes a few seconds for the daughter to look Samira up online, showing that she's in Bucharest. Earlier, Marissa told Utrax regional head Carmichael that he needed to put something in place for when Clara began looking for her mother. So they did that to capture the rogue asset from Utrax. This is definitely the CIA trying to draw Clara back into the arms of Utrax, confirmed only moments later once Carmichael and Marissa are gearing up a team to go snatch her up. Of course, the mother and daughter have taken Clara towards the city. When Hannah manages to track her friend to the cabin, she's there right as a military vehicle pulls up outside. She prepares herself for what may come next when more soldiers arrive and spreads out to search the surrounding area. That's when Hannah comes out firing, taking down several soldiers and prompting the others to fire back. A propane tank soon comes there and ignites in the firefight, and eventually the cabin erupts in flames with Hannah inside it. Simultaneously, at a hotel near Bucharest, Clara is dropped off to find her mother. When she reaches the second floor, she doesn't find her mother. She finds Marissa waiting for her in a room. Marissa says Samira's dead, and then she gives Clara up to the Utrax program. She tries to tell the girl there's a better way of living at the Meadows, the new Utrax facility. She offers a new identity with the ironic name Clemency. Clara only wants her mother, and before she can think of running, soldiers turn up to drag her away. After that, Utrax agent Carmichael praises Marissa for her job and also offers to be a part of Utrax again, but it finally seems to be a moral weight beginning to crush Marissa now. Not that she's actually going to do the right thing, but it appears she at least feels that weight rather than largely ignoring it to save her own skin. She's not happy to hear about the incident at the cabin where Hannah was supposedly present, but Hannah's too tough to let an explosion kill her. It'd have to be a much bigger explosion to do that. And when Hannah crawls out of the rubble, she goes straight to find Marissa. Back in the city, Hannah's donning new blonde hair, slightly shorter than usual. Her new name's Beatrice. She has to find a place to hide, so Marissa has a couple of good people to shelter her for a long time. At work, Marissa confronts a spy named Sonia, who is reporting back to Carmichael about Marissa's every activity. Now Marissa warns her to stay out of her private life. Later, she goes to get a fake ID for Ms. Beatrice. She and Hannah have to make sure the girl appears dead to the CIA and U-Tracks. This new Beatrice has to be untraceable. Marissa is sending her far away from her country to keep her safe from the CIA and U-Tracks. Unfortunately, Hannah can't forget Clara and what's happened to her, though her date of departure is very near. Bored at home in the apartment building, Hannah goes to another apartment and asks a young guy there for coffee. When he goes around getting his stuff to make coffee, Hannah takes a look around the place. She uses the laptop there to search Passway Pharmaceuticals, the name on the bullet-like implant from Clara's arm. She slips out of there without the dude realizing she took the wallet of his father. When he does notice, she's already out of there and in the street. When Marissa gets home, the guy asks about his dad's wallet from her. She quickly understands that something is wrong. She goes into his place to see Hannah was on the computer earlier, finding the Passway search. Meanwhile, Clara is brought to the meadows where she's being indoctrinated once again, a little differently this time, by Leo's gentler touch. She asks Leo about Hannah, and he tells her that Hannah's dead. A lie, but Clara has no way of knowing otherwise. Now, she thinks she's truly alone. On the other hand, Hannah's gone directly to the pharmaceutical factory, but it's not as easy as walking through the gates. She finds someone going in to take part in the drug trial happening in the factory. She forces the woman to hand over her clothes and everything else. Then she goes inside legally. She and others are told about the trial's schedule for treatments and observation. Afterward, Hannah's brought to a room where she's given a relaxant and told to wait there. Not long after, someone comes to check her vitals, and then they go further into the facility to another room as the pill she was given takes hold. She gets hooked on an IV and left to watch relaxing things on a TV, but she is not okay. The effect of drugs is bringing back horrific memories of her father, his death, the firing of guns and explosions. That's why she wants to get out of it. She smashes the window to get out of her containment room. Seconds later, soldiers show up, and they pay a price for going head-to-head with Hannah. Then, she finds a man writing on his laptop about the Meadows program for the U-Tracks trainees. She isn't able to get the location of the Meadows before more men with guns come. Luckily, Marissa was in the parking garage waiting for Hannah, so she gets Hannah in and drives away. Later, Carmichael hears about the Passway pharmaceutical incident, so he appoints Sonia to search in the matter. Sonia gets talking with the woman whose clothes and identification were stolen by Hannah outside Passway Pharmaceuticals. This, plus Clara's cutout implant, starts to get Carmichael thinking about Hannah seriously. So, they give that woman a list of pictures to look at, and she identifies Hannah in them as the girl who stole her. Meanwhile, Hannah tells Marissa that she feels guilty for Clara and now wants to find her. Though the mission is seemingly impossible, they both agree to work as a team and go to the meadows. Hannah's searching more about Passway Pharmaceuticals while Marissa's at home getting a new identity and passport for Clara. Marissa gives Sonia a call as well, who is now appointed to take down Hannah. On the road, Marissa receives a call from Carmichael. He's getting quite curious about where Hannah has wound up. He's wondering whether Marissa has anything to do with Hannah, though he doesn't outright say anything. Hannah watches the director of Passway Pharmaceuticals, Dumont, who is sending an illegal shipment of drugs to U-Tracks. She follows him to a diner and sends the address to Marissa. At the same time, Sonia picked up a match of Hannah on CCTV through facial recognition, so she knows Hannah's at the diner too. At the same moment, Hannah's on Dumont's heels. She has no clue that Sonia is right on hers with orders to take her to Carmichael. Right at the time, Marissa turns up and puts a bullet in Sonia's face and saves Hannah again. Then she takes Hannah in her car and drives away. Carmichael assumes it was Hannah who killed Sonia. He contacts Marissa, telling her he believes Hannah's looking for the meadows. He tasks her with finding the assassin. Hannah's in the car while the two talk on the phone. She also finds Carmichael's card in Marissa's purse and notices that they're on the phone together at that time. This leads the girl to automatically assume that Marissa is actually working against her. So she snaps her phone's SIM card, then sneaks away when Marissa isn't looking. She decides to hitch an impromptu ride on one of the trucks nearby. Marissa tracks her to the truck, but Hannah attacks, and the two go fist against fist. Hannah puts a chokehold on Marissa and knocks her unconscious. After that, Hannah sneaks in past the perimeter fence of the meadows and sees the building in the distance. She hides her passport in a tree and then goes about getting a gun by knocking out an armed guard. From there, she hops the property's stone wall and moves further towards the mansion. She manages to get to the garden, where a bunch of the U-Tracks girls are acting like normal girls. She sees Clara with the rest enjoying her time. Clara also catches a look at Hannah, but she does nothing. Meanwhile, more armed guards swarm around Hannah. All Hannah can do is drop her weapons quietly and surrender herself. In the past, we saw an agent at U-Tracks named Terry bring Clara a letter from Samira, It was written when Clara was born. Terry wanted to convince Clara so that she could join Utrax by heart. Otherwise, she'd probably be executed. So Clara opens the letter and reads the sweet words of her departed mother. It's a painful moment, yet the bitterness is accompanied by a sweetness because it's at least a tiny piece of Samira that Clara can hold on to. The thing that matters the most is that Clara is now not against the doctrine of living in the Utrax facility, leaving her previous life with Hannah behind. That's why she didn't show any emotion when she saw Hannah at the Utrax, where she was surrounded by the guards. After learning that Hannah is inside the meadows, Marissa plans to infiltrate the facility. She's got herself a handy little gadget tucked away in lipstick. After that, she pairs her phone and purposefully runs her car into a big tree. A bit later, Carmichael speaks with an injured Marissa who asks to see Hannah. First, Carmichael brings her to an observation room. They watch Hannah's security footage, and Carmichael talks about her impressive fighting skills. She's exactly what the Utrax program was meant to create. He wants to bring the girl back into the fold and make her compliant with the program once more. Marissa acts like she'll play along too. She's brought to the interrogation room, where Hannah's obviously suspicious. But Marissa plays a good part, telling the girl things without having to say too much aloud. They talk about Hannah following the drug shipment, supposedly killing Sonia. Between the lines, this is about whatever plan Ms. Marissa Wiegler's made, and it's only a matter of time before that plan's enacted. Simultaneously, Marissa's friend Steven retrieves the phone Marissa left behind. He pairs it with Marissa's, and it gives him the location of the meadows. Back at the meadows, Hannah gets a visit from Clara. Then she's shown around the area by her friend. Hannah doesn't like Clara's new name, and neither does she think there's anything good about pretending to have a family that isn't real. On top of everything, these girls aren't free to do anything. They're stuck behind walls and fences. They're monitored 24/7 wherever they go, even in their own rooms. So Hannah decides that she and Clara ought to take a detour. Meanwhile, Jules and Sandy are busy looking for some alcohol so they can have a party. One distracts the delivery guy while the other fills a bottle full of liquor. It's actually an elaborate ruse planned by Leo to teach the kids a little disobedience. Later, we see Clara sitting alone, thinking deeply about something. Seeing this, Sandy approaches her and asks if there is something causing her any problems. To this, Clara speaks out that she and Hannah are planning to leave the facility tonight, but deep down, Clara doesn't want to leave it. When the lights go down for the night, Jules gets ready for her party. Clara and Hannah show up for a drink as well. They're interrupted when Marissa comes to say goodbye to Hannah. Before she leaves, Marissa goes to the observation room. She accesses the system on a computer and times the power to shut down in the facility after several minutes. At exactly 10 p.m., the power shuts down across the meadows. Marissa shoots the driver, escorting her off the property while Hannah and Clara begin to make their run for it inside. Steven watches for the locator in Marissa's lipstick, waiting for them to get out safely. But outside, Marissa's nabbed by Carmichael and his men. Inside, Hannah's been tricked by Clara, who's led her into a trap. The Utrax girls are like a cult, descending upon their prey, and Hannah feels truly backed into a corner. Hannah's now stuck at the meadows. She looks at the fake life built up around her, and then she thinks about Eric taking her away from this sort of existence. At lunch, the other girls attempt to talk with Hannah, asking her to sit with them at their table. She's obviously angry at Clara, who is now avoiding Hannah. During the day's training, which is an elaborate game called Capture the Flag, Hannah participates with the other girls. The others have nothing on Hannah, who's experienced the real version of combat while killing the Utrax soldiers. She has reflexes like an animal, moving through the woods and taking out all the other girls so easily it's insane, as Leo and Terry watch on in astonishment. The other girls go down one by one. This leaves Hannah alone in the forest when she comes upon the fence. Steven is nearby and calls her over quietly. He shows her the picture of her on his phone, then has to rush off right as he hears Clara coming. The pair of girls continue on together to the burned-out truck, where a trap explosive goes off and sends Hannah momentarily into a memory, thinking of her mother's death and Eric in the forest again. Hannah ends up in hand-to-hand combat with another Utrax girl, fighting for the flag. In the end, she comes out on top, holding the flag up high. Everyone else is amazed at Hannah's performance, but she sees it as silly, pointless games. In the night, Hannah hugs Clara, forgetting all the grievances against her. Carmichael takes a snapshot of CCTV footage of both girls hugging each other. He shows it to Marissa, saying that Hannah is back home now, and Marissa is being transported to some other facility soon. Meanwhile, Terry's been keeping a close eye on Hannah. On the other hand, Marissa takes out a guard with her sweet talk and knocks him down. She slips out of the cell with a passkey and a gun. She gets to the observation room and proceeds to knock Terry out. She gets in contact with Hannah over the laptop, and the girl suddenly doesn't want to leave. Hannah even hides the camera through which Marissa is looking at her. But that photo Carmichael foolishly left with Marissa gives her a clue about finding Hannah's room. Marissa makes it to Hannah's room quickly and tries her best to tell her she isn't safe at the Meadows. However, Hannah doesn't listen to her. Actually, Hannah is tired of running. She doesn't want to keep running for her whole life. Marissa has to have a fast heart-to-heart about Eric before the guards turn up. The place is already on high alert. Marissa wants to be Hannah's surrogate mother now. Hannah listens this time and agrees to go with her. They get to Stephen. First, they've got to grab Hannah's passport, which she stashed, and then they're on their way. But she also really doesn't want to leave without Clara. Then Clara shows up, grabbing the gun off Marissa and trying to stop them. This is when Marissa comes clean to tell Clara her mother is still alive. She had to lie originally to bring Clara back for Utrax. Marissa wrestles with Clara for the gun, and it goes off. The bullet is in the arm of Marissa. Hannah's taken the gun, leaving Marissa injured and at the hands of Carmichael. Clara tells Carmichael that Marissa was kidnapping Hannah, so Hannah shot her and stopped her from leaving the Meadows. The guards take her back into the facility, and Carmichael welcomes Hannah back to the Meadows. After some days, Carmichael hears of a whistleblower who's been attempting to reach out to a reporter in London named Nicola Goff to spill the beans on Utrax. Carmichael is tasked with sending some of the girls on their first mission. The mission is to find this whistleblower and eliminate him. Hannah and Jules are selected for this first mission. They are asked to gain access to Nicola through the journalist's partner, Bethany James, who lectures in culture and gender studies at a university. They get the admission in the university, and one day after the lecture, Jules returns to see Bethany, acting like she's having personal struggles in the subject. It's really just a way to reel the professor in a bit with Hannah watching in the wings. During the conversation, Jules gets an invite to a political gathering from Bethany and her wife at their home. That evening, Hannah and Jules go to Nicola and Bethany's party. Hannah goes to find a drink and runs into Nicola in the kitchen. The secret assassin questions her all about journalism, as if that's what she's studying to do herself. They're interrupted when Nicola receives a phone call from the whistleblower named Tacitus. She goes outside for privacy, and Hannah listens nearby, hearing the name of a reporter from Barcelona, Alba Paredes, who'll help break the story. Hannah goes snooping around and snaps a few photos of the journalist's notes before slipping out the window to send the pics back to the Meadows. She gets back to the kitchen in time to be waiting for Nicola. There is a very good moment here where Nicola mentions working on a story in Ireland, which resonates deeply with Hannah and the Utrax girls' story. Later, Hannah meets Stephen and tells him everything about the situation with Tacitus. Stephen takes her to a building where he's been working with another secret agent, Rachel. The two of them tell Hannah about the pioneer group of Utrax, a bunch of nationalist radicals within the CIA. They're going to carry out assassinations the world over. Stephen and Rachel believe Tacitus knows the location of the targets, and they need to get to him before Carmichael and the rest do. Unfortunately for Hannah, she never thought that Jules might be watching her and reporting back to Leo. This marks the girl for erasure from the program, which Carmichael tells Leo to handle personally. The next day, Hannah and Jules are going to find and kill their target, Nicola. They're followed by Stephen closely. Right as the train arrives, Hannah pushes Jules off and pulls her gun. However, it's a ruse to get Hannah on the train by herself, where two other operatives are waiting to kill her. She's been given a gun with no ammo. This puts her in a hand-to-hand fight with the two. When Jules discovers she's being followed by Stephen, she lures him in and puts a couple of bullets in his stomach. This sends Hannah rushing, but she can't stop Jules, who gets a quick hand from Leo. Then they also shoot Nicola dead at the railway station. This leaves Stephen and Nicola both murdered in the station. Not just that, Hannah's alone once again. Maybe she'll return to Rachel because Hannah has obtained Stephen's phone. Hannah removes her drug implant and dyes her hair all over again, cutting some off. She's once more on the run from Utrax. On the other hand, Clara and Sandy are also sent out on a mission. They have to get close to a college student cat. Sandy does this very perfectly, but Clara catches an eye on Hannah there. So, she follows her. They meet in an abandoned stadium where Hannah tells her about her mother. She has gone through a list of operatives looking into Clara's file further, which shows that Clara's mother, Samira, married a man in 2012, and they live in Alexandria, Egypt. Then Hannah goes to see Kat, who is with Sandy at that time. Actually, Kat is the daughter of Robert Gelder, the man behind the name Tacitus. That's why Leo appointed Sandy and Clara to keep an eye on Kat. And when Robert comes to meet her, their duty is to take him down. The day comes when Robert meets his daughter, Kat, at a diner. He tells her what little he can, explaining he has to leave suddenly. His daughter gets pissed off because he's obviously obsessed with work. Meanwhile, Sandy sends a text message to Clara to come to the diner quickly and take down Robert. Inside, Robert mentions to Kat about Nicola being killed and the info he's holding. It naturally doesn't sit right with Kat, and she definitely walks out on Dad. Simultaneously, Clara meets with Sandy, who gives instructions to follow Tacitus after he leaves, and then she should kill him. When Clara's by herself, she gets interrupted by Hannah, who urges her not to kill Robert Gelder as he is innocent. She thinks it'll happen regardless, but Hannah only wants to stop Utrax. It's everything Eric taught her to do. Clara agrees to Hannah and drops off his trail, texting Sandy to say that she lost him. After that, Hannah goes full force now and reveals the truth to Kat, urging her to leave the city with her father. Kat follows the instructions and contacts with her father, but Sandy is again following her. So, Hannah jumps in front of a car, smashing off the windshield and stealing the car when the driver gets out to check on her. Kat reaches a hotel room where her father is ready to leave with the luggage packed. But as soon as they are about to leave, Clara again comes at the door after being persuaded against all the things that Hannah mentioned earlier. Sandy and Clara are holding the father and daughter at gunpoint, searching for the briefcase in which the required documents are present. Sandy orders Clara to kill Robert Gelder. However, Clara flat out refuses. She is a changed person now and can't kill someone. This prompts Sandy to take the gun, but Hannah comes in time, trying to save the Gelders. Sandy's pushed into the bedroom, where she shoots Tacitus and hops out the window. It brings back horrific memories for Hannah, watching her own father die in front of her. Clara doesn't want to go back to Utrax now. She wants to go meet her mother, finally. Her friend, obviously, understands the impulse. Hannah gives Clara the Canadian passport which Marissa had prepared for her and tells her to disappear with Samira once they're together. Hannah and Clara are seeing each other for the last time. They're also aided by Terry, who chooses not to tell anybody else about the correspondence between mother and daughter online. Clara goes on to Morocco, where she and Samira see each other for the first time since they were separated many years ago. At the end, we see Hannah meet Marissa and Carmichael again. A CIA agent named Ethan comes to a restaurant for lunch, but a lady has already paid for his lunch. It's Marissa who is sitting behind him and shows him a list of targets whom Utrax is going to kill. Ethan is one of the names in the list, so Marissa cautions him and also gives him a cell phone to contact in emergency. On the other hand, Hannah returns to the Meadows with Carmichael, who designs a cover story that explains her previous activities. She is now welcomed back to the Meadows, and everyone praises her for completing the previous mission successfully. After some days, a pioneer operative of the Utrax named Brianna Stapleton arrives at the Meadows. It looks like she is the one controlling Carmichael all this time, and now the people behind Utrax are serious about this project, which is why they are increasing their activities in the Meadows. Late at night, Hannah and Carmichael secretly go to meet Marissa. There, Ethan contacts Marissa on the video call and gives all the details about Utrax, which he knows. In that information, he revealed that he was hired by Stapleton to work on a secret program for Utrax to generate a list of individuals who could be a threat to the US government in the future. So, they gathered all the data from various sources and gave them the list of kids who could be a potential threat after 30 years of age. But Ethan didn't find it right and left the program after some days. That's why his name is now on Utrax's list of targets. Marissa then appoints Hannah to look into the matter further and find out who is in charge of Utrax. So, Hannah uses the vending ducks to go to a room where Stapleton is talking to her boss on video call and secretly take a picture of the boss with his phone. Stapleton is also controlling Carmichael and organizing everything, which he says in front of the girls. It means that Carmichael is just a puppet in the hands of Stapleton. Meanwhile, Sandy still doesn't trust Hannah at the Meadows, and Jules is also having trouble dealing with the events that transpired. Sandy is also secretly meeting with Stapleton, which Terry has seen. So, Terry tells Hannah about Sandy's secret meetings and makes her cautious. Later, Hannah goes to Paris for her first assignment. She makes contact with her target, Abbas Naziri, who is a politically active person and have a great following. Hannah also attends his political sermons and finds him attractive, though. Abbas Naziri is on the target list of Utrax as he can be a threat for US government in the future due to his activism. So Hannah keeps on tracking him. One day, Hannah eventually gets the orders to kill him, so Hannah takes Abbas Naziri to the rooftop and gets him to the ground. She throws her microphone away and then tells Abbas that she is appointed to kill him. There is a man who is watching the activity of Hannah and informing back to Stapleton. That's why they have to fake the death of Abbas Naziri to save him from Utrax. In the meantime, Marissa also reaches there, and then they throw a body down the building, apparently Abbas's dead body, after 3 gunshots. Suddenly, some bystanders come and burn the body. In the eyes of Utrax, Hannah has completed her job successfully. On the other hand, Abbas is still alive, and Hannah has fallen in love with him. They are living together secretly in an apartment room. One day in the morning, Hannah checks a contact number on Abbas's phone named Nadia. She feels betrayed and leaves the apartment where Abbas is hidden. But suddenly, she observes that she is being monitored, and her follower knows that she is with Abbas. Utrax has come to know that Hannah betrayed them and Abbas is still alive. So they send a man in the apartment of Abbas who shoots a bullet at him, which touches his arm and goes away. Luckily, Hannah reaches back just in time and kills that assassin. Then she takes Abbas with her into a car. Just then, Stapleton is informed about the whole scenario. She also finds out that someone is spying on them through the venting tubes. When she goes to see Carmichael, who is on his laptop at the time, she realizes that Carmichael is also on the side of Marissa and Hannah. Although he destroys his laptop, he still gets captured. Then Stapleton video calls her boss, whose name is Gordon. He tells her to get the truth out of Carmichael, track the IP address, and find Marissa, who he wants to be alive. Meanwhile, Terry warns Hannah that the people behind Utrax know about her truth. That's why Hannah flees from the train and alerts Marissa too. While she and Abbas flee in a stolen taxi, they're shot at again. Abbas dives onto a small truck to flee, whilst Hannah and Marissa kill the men after them. After that, Stapleton and her team attempt to track Hannah and Marissa down. But as Marissa is booking several methods of transport, it makes it harder for them to do so. After that, Hannah tracks Abbas down to an apartment block and discovers that Nadia is actually Abbas's daughter. Hannah realizes that the location isn't secure as the assassins arrive there in no time. To keep all of them safe, Hannah sneaks Abbas and Nadia into the next apartment, but his mother is shot dead. However, Hannah is soon able to get the three of them to safety after traveling with them on a train. Hannah also gives a present to Nadia and asks her to remember her through that present. Then Hannah bids farewell to Abbas as she has to go to complete the leftover work. After that, Marissa tells Hannah that she is going towards Vienna to shut everything down as she thinks that the boss is present there. Meanwhile, Sandy is appointed by the Utrax to find Ethan. So she searches for Ethan, even going as far as to threaten a pregnant lady who is Ethan's girlfriend. The pregnant lady points Sandy towards the piano, but when she tries to kill her, Sandy shoots the pregnant woman dead. She has become even more ruthless than before. Later on, Hannah gets Sandy's location from Terry and reaches the apartment where Sandy is torturing Ethan. Luckily, Hannah appears in time and knocks Sandy out. After that, Hannah and Marissa shoot their way into the old building of the embassy. They soon find the programmer, Max, and the servers there. Max explains that the servers keep track of everyone across the world, and it's how they use data to form a picture of who a person may be becoming in the future. Gordon used this system to list the names of those who could be a threat to the US government in the future. Max also tells them that it can't be destroyed as it is coded in such a way that it will always be rewritten. As Hannah shoots out the servers to destroy everything, she shoots Max before he can reach for his gun. He is also supposedly on the side of Utrax. After that, Marissa heads for Gordon and gives a copy of all the servers' data to Hannah to expose it in front of the public. Meanwhile, Carmichael tries to flee after learning about his pending execution, and Terry helps him in this matter. As Carmichael escapes, he comes face to face with Marissa. Yet, as she has more pressing matters at hand, Marissa chooses not to kill him for the time being. After that, Marissa heads for Gordon. Here we learn that Gordon is actually the father of Marissa, who used to torture her in the name of her training when she was a child. After she tracks him down, he escapes before she can kill him. She could not kill him because her past memories continued to haunt her again and again, and she could not get a clear shot at her own father. Luckily, Hannah comes there and saves Marissa from the men of Gordon there. During the shootout, Hannah gets a bullet, but she is out of danger. She devises a plan and asks Marissa to go with the driver and expose Gordon and Utrax to the public. At the same time, Hannah herself surrenders in the hands of Gordon's men in order to get a chance to kill Gordon. With Hannah now in custody, Gordon pays her a visit. He is a very arrogant person as he tells Hannah that Max wasn't as dumb as she thought. It means that Hannah's efforts to destroy the servers have failed. Now, Gordon wants Abbas. Hearing this, Hannah leaps for Gordon, but ends up restrained and getting burnt with a cigar, much like he used to do to Marissa in the past. Free but stuck with no resources, Carmichael uses a public server to call Marissa. He says he will help get Hannah out in return for a passport and a new name. After Marissa seemingly agrees, he boards a train. Trouble is ahead, however, as Sandy is also on the train. Carmichael attempts to flee, but she corners him on an abandoned train. Somehow, Carmichael succeeds in saving his life from the hands of Sandy, but he is still being chased. Later, Marissa meets with Carmichael, but it's all a trick. It turns out that Marissa has indirectly ordered the first 10 assassinations when she was in the program. To Gordon, this makes Marissa a part of Pioneer now, as he always wanted his daughter to be on his side, but Marissa never wanted this. That's why Marissa decides to flee. As she does so, Carmichael is shot dead by Sandy. Back to Hannah. Just as she is about to be injected with something as a form of interrogation drug, she attacks the men before attempting to escape through the vaults. During her escape route, she sees that Max is still alive and being operated in another room. They need him to destroy all the Utrax servers. Soon, Hannah's attempts to flee fail when she finds herself surrounded by armed men. When Gordon finds out about this escape attempt, he tortures Hannah further, stating that he will kill Abbas and Nadia unless she gives him Marissa's location. Reluctantly, she tells him where Marissa is. After that, Gordon sets up a trap using Hannah. Marissa receives a call from Hannah, who claims that Abbas has been located and she needs Marissa to come to meet her. Upon meeting in person, Hannah tells Marissa that if they both hand themselves in, Gordon won't kill Abbas. Marissa wonders whether the torture is getting too much for Hannah, as she has become a part of a trap for Marissa. However, Hannah shows Marissa a hidden message in her hands, stating that Max is alive. Marissa understands that she will have to get back in the building to destroy the servers this time. Hannah and Marissa are in custody now and are led through to a location where Marissa believes her father may be, but they are going to kill Hannah there, as Marissa is captured now, and Hannah is not needed anymore. In a showdown between Hannah and Stapleton, Marissa is able to escape Stapleton's clutches there. Hannah kills the remaining guards there. Soon, Gordon also comes to the conclusion that it was planned, and it must be because they know that Max is alive. He sends his men to kill Max, but Marissa kills them first. Hannah gets Max to write down the encryption key for the server's data. Right then, Stapleton comes to Max, but she's too late. Marissa and Hannah already have the encryption key and have left. She asks Max what he told them, but when he doesn't answer, Stapleton takes out his breathing tube to let him die. Meanwhile, the men of Gordon's have reached the location where Abbas is hidden. Abbas takes Nadia with him and runs towards the forest. Back in Vienna, as Hannah and Marissa escape, Terry helps them both by creating a situation that allows Terry and Marissa to drive away. There, Hannah sees armed men going for Abbas, so she attacks one of the guards and takes their uniform. With danger looming for him and his family, Abbas hides Nadia in a cave. Unfortunately, Hannah's plan doesn't go as she thought as Gordon and Stapleton find it. They're now aware that Hannah has taken the identity of one of the armed men. When the armed men get informed that Hannah is amongst them, Hannah fakes a gunshot to give the others the false impression that she is dead. When Abbas makes a run for his life, he accidentally sets off a car horn, which directs Gordon's men towards him. Whilst they attempt to shoot him, Hannah soon kills all the men, saving Abbas once again. Now, dogs are tracking Hannah and Abbas, who hide within a crack in the ground. Using her abilities, Hannah has the dogs search elsewhere. Then they head to the cave where Nadia is hidden. Unfortunately, Sandy had reached there before them. Sandy wants to know where Hannah is, or she'll shoot Nadia. When Abbas is taking her out of the cave, Hannah attacks Sandy, and they're soon fighting, with Abbas accidentally getting shot in the leg. Both girls are close to killing each other when Jules appears. Hannah tries to persuade Jules that Sandy will kill them, but Jules doesn't believe her. However, when Sandy reaches for her gun, Jules shoots her. Within seconds, Sandy falls off the cliff edge and into the lake below. Meanwhile, Hannah hears Gordon's men coming, and soon they're surrounded. Gordon orders the death of Hannah, Abbas, and Nadia, but he becomes infuriated when Stapleton questions whether an innocent child should die. In the meantime, Marissa comes there and shoots Stapleton dead. Next, when Marissa reaches for the radio, Gordon shoots her, but she shoots him back in the neck. Marissa cancels the hit by announcing it on the radio, and the armed men all leave without hurting Hannah, Abbas, and Nadia. Marissa watches as Gordon dies in front of her, but soon after, Marissa collapses against the wall too, having been shot in the stomach. After that, Hannah goes off in search of Marissa and finds her dying, but Hannah wants her to stay. She hated her for a long time, but now she really loves her. Sadly, Marissa dies there, leaving Hannah alone once again. After some days, we see Hannah, who now has a new passport and is heading to Boston. Hannah bids farewell to Abbas and Nadia and goes towards her next location.